And now, a Native Podcast with Matt and Zach.
And welcome back to another episode of A Native Podcast. I am Zach, and with me as always is Matt. And I got to start it off that way as always and say, Matt, buddy, how we doing today?
Oh, doing pretty good, man. Doing good. Just putting my good luck out there because I just put in for the Grand Canyon permit for June to hike the Grand Canyon. So crossing fingers.
Hopefully, one of us get it. I
Hopefully
mean,
someone gets
put
it.
in. Five of us put in.
Right.
We'll see. We'll see. Come May, we'll see. Actually, we'll know in February, but
Yeah, we'll know next month.
come June or May, you'll see us hiking it if you want to check us out on social media. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. We're here to talk about Reno Charette, professor of mine at Montana State University Billings. We talk about her being one of those people I put up on a pedestal and say, it really got me interested in Indian country and who we are and the perspective we have on this earth, like
Mhm.
just everything. I know you get it a little bit because that's why we do a podcast together. But yeah, I'm excited to talk. I don't know anything you kind of want to mention beforehand.
Yeah, to me, with the way you talk about her is kind of how I've made that connection with the Louis White Bear early on, and like how these people where we were at the time really wanted it drove us to get more involved in native issues in Indian country, and it's kind of a motivating, like again, the pedestal, right?
Well, and
Um,
I like in today's interview how Reno talks about history because I get it because like that's me. Like I like history, but then like you go to school and you get kind of mad at the history books that say manifest destiny and colonization and all this. We're savages and whatnot. And it's like Native Americans have been economists, they've been philanthropists, they've been entrepreneurs, they've been travelers, they've been all this stuff, communicators for thousands of years. And there's evidence of that.
well, and
And
it's almost like these people, because they're native people educating us from a native perspective, it's debunking some of those things we learned in K through 12, you know.
right, no, exactly. And it's understanding the realities of that because it's a lot of our families that went through that and gone through that. And that is part of that history, right? It's not just one-sided, and nothing is in this world. Ask someone to draw you a picture of a tree. Guarantee you're not going to get the same tree twice. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, you may get the triangle with the little rectangle at the bottom a couple times, but you know what I mean? To
Right.
you might draw a pine tree. I might draw a cottonwood tree. You know,
Yeah.
very, very different is kind of what I'm getting at that. Before we get into the interview, do you have a fun fact for us today, Matthew?
You caught me off guard there, bud.
You can't just spitball one off the top of
Can't
your.
just spitball one. Oh man. What do you actually, let's reverse it. Do you have a fun fact?
1492, Columbus did not discover America. He landed in what was called the West Indies. It's not
Oh,
America,
oh,
right? He landed on
yeah,
the islands down there.
the west of the Caribbean islands. That is true.
Uh,
Um,
the largest reservation's the Navajo. There you go.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
But she's not Navajo. She's actually Crow. Grew up on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation. We're going to take you to that interview with Reno. It's a great one. It's a good one. Definitely one to rewatch over and over and over. Do us that favor, like, subscribe, add, thumbs up, share this with your friend, share this with your grandma, share it with a cousin. We appreciate it. We're going to get into a commercial break and then we'll bring you Reno. Did you know there's a new native apparel company?
No, I did not.
It's called Shop LS 574, named after the 574 federal tribes and the Little Shell descendancy of its founders.
Wow, that's really cool, man.
It is. It is becoming a spot to order native apparel by and for natives, working with native designers and teams to help best represent Indian country.
That's awesome, dude.
For sure. Now make sure to go pick up some Native podcast swag as well as other native gear while shopping at shopls574.com.
Oh, yeah. And do not forget to use code ANP10 to save on your next order.
That's ANP10. Hey Matt, did you know there's a tribally owned net company?
No, I did not.
Not only are they tribally owned, but Blue Ribbon Nets also creates totally sustainable products. With Blue Ribbon Nets, not only are you getting quality nets, but even eco-friendly ones as well.
That's awesome, dude.
It sure is indeed. Make sure to use code RUGAROO10 on your next Blue Ribbon Net order to save. Again, the code is RUGAROO10, RUGARU10.
I am definitely getting a Blue Ribbon Net now.
Tune in every Tuesday to hear your favorite native podcast.
That's right. A Native Podcast has new episodes every week, ranging from boarding schools to Indian child welfare.
Not only that, but we have Indian country covered from Maine to California and Florida to Alaska, Hopi to Blackfeet and Choctaw to Tlingit, and all those Crees in between.
And all you other natives and non-natives out there, we want to remind you to tune in this Tuesday to A Native Podcast.
All righty, everybody, welcome back. We'd like to bring our guest Reno on. Reno's one of those people for me that I always talk about kind of in my Indian country. You know, I don't want to call it a Mount Rushmore, you know how they say that in sports, because Mount Rushmore is a bad thing to talk about, you know, in Indian country. But you are up there for me, you know, the Indian chiefs that have taught me and guided me. Especially at a young age, you know, when I came back to Montana, you know, when I went to school in Oregon, I thought I was going to be working in sports, doing whatever, not really attached to my culture in the way I was when I came back. And professors like Dr. Sanders and yourself really got me motivated and excited to be proud of who I am as a Native person, especially as a mixed Native person. I think that's something that I've always struggled with. Like I got blue eyes. I can't help that. You know, you can't control how you look, but definitely have always known my family's been different or felt different that way, and it's that nativeness that I've come to learn and love. You know, it's that, hey, my cousin's my best friend, my brother almost. So, and you're one of those people that taught me that. But sorry, I definitely go ahead and introduce yourself, and yeah, we can go from there.
Well, thank you for that great lead-in, Zach. I'm always happy to see former students doing really well and doing very interesting things that their education has inspired them to do. So I'm happy to be here with you today. My name's Reno Charette, and I currently work for the American Indian Higher Education Consortium based in Virginia. I'm a remote worker. I live in Billings, Montana, and I am the Director of Health Initiatives for AHEC. So currently we have a couple of grants funded by the National Institute of Health and one funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation. And we're a grant writing machine to address gaps in our tribal colleges. So when we do the programming, it's generally for all 37 of the tribal colleges in the nation. So a lot of data work to kind of examine, you know, what can we do? So our new venture, there's two kind of goals that my team and I have decided we wanted to work on. And one is enhancing the nursing programs at our tribal colleges. And the second is to find a way to help enhance any opioid treatment programs that are going on in Indian country, and how that might be related to a major such as addiction counseling, alcohol counseling. They have various names, but basically they're all degree programs to assist addicts to manage their situation. So that keeps us very busy with just those few things. We design online programming to teach not only tribal college students, but their faculty and the stakeholders in their community how to do indigenous research using methods that are unique to indigenous ways of knowing, and then to evaluate that work based on indigenous evaluation frameworks. So that could easily involve art, developing different ways of looking at your project to see if you've made a difference. So fortunately, NIH does advocate for Native programs to use Indigenous research methods and evaluation. So we enjoy that a lot, and kind of look forward to them developing new ways of approaching work in Indian country.
Oh, wow.
So
You sound busy.
yeah, every day is different.
Yeah.
I've got to do really fun things. I took 8 students to Honolulu, Hawaii for a SACNAS conference.
Oh,
And
Wow.
then a couple of years ago, it's probably been 3 by now, I took about the same number, 7, 8 students to San Juan, Puerto Rico to attend the SACNAS conference. So it's a Society for the Advancement of Chicano and Native Americans
Oh,
in
wow.
Science. And it's probably the biggest association for students of color.
Are these students from different schools,
Oh
or
yeah,
so they come from
yeah,
all the different tribal colleges?
yeah. Our furthest tribal college is in Barrow, Alaska, and it's called Illisavik College. And it took the person from that community 2 days to get to our meeting place for the conference, and then 2 days to get back. But you know, that's also a situation our students from Fort Peck have to deal with. They have to take a day to drive to a big airport, spend the night, and then catch the plane the next day. So I've learned all about the challenges of travel from rural parts of our country.
Well, it's funny. We were joking about all the because I don't know if you've heard, but the Little Shell Event Center got
Mhm.
announced, and we're joking about names because you hear all the casinos and the resorts, their names, they all have winds, they're northern winds, prairie winds.
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
was thinking kind of what you're saying. Yeah, like they just put us in these remote, windy places when they say
Yeah,
reservation. Like it's these places that are like, oh, everything's windy,
I
far,
think I think there was a strategy to that. That
probably, right?
in the early days, they thought they were giving the tribes the worst of the land so they could claim the best of the land. And the creator has a sense of humor because then he put oil under that undesirable land, or
Right.
uranium or coal, other things that the tribes are making use of.
Right. No, definitely. And then even just the fact that like we were talking about it, even the fact that people can't with the tribes with the election, people are like, oh, a lot of natives, vote one way or the other. And you're like, they don't though, because some of them have oil, some of them live here, they live
Mhm.
there, they have different needs. We're so diverse in our own way.
right.
It's crazy.
Well, and even the urban and rural, in Barrow, Alaska, you mentioned, that's about as far away from anything as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you
Yeah,
know,
they have to do snowmobiles, a bush plane, a little bit bigger plane to get to Anchorage, and then a big plane to get to Seattle, and then another plane to go east. It's just incredible.
That's insane.
So,
That's
yeah.
and it's not just that's the thing too. People do like they'll travel from place to place, and like even like New York to Europe or something. They're going big
Mhm.
airport to big airport. They don't think like you're
Mhm.
saying the snowmobile to go to the small bush plane.
Yeah,
Sometimes that doesn't even go because oh there was a thunderstorm or a snowstorm.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
have flown that Cape Air. I call it Cape Scare. Uh,
Oh,
those planes, you feel everything. You're
Yeah.
bouncing it. Oh, it's
Mhm.
not fun.
Mm,
So I guess your career in Indian country starts very young, correct?
mhm.
Um, and
It,
I guess what kind of got you going and started in that?
well, I was always a non-traditional student. So I took a speed route through high school and I was a college freshman at 16. And this is just right after the Vietnam War had ended and the drinking age was still 18.
Wow.
And because I had a college ID, it could get me into anywhere I wanted to go.
Oh,
So needless to say, I didn't do so well my first semester. And then because I was on the university's track team, I really cleaned up my act for spring semester because I didn't want to get kicked off the track team. But I didn't finish school then because by my end of my sophomore year, I had injured myself running, trying to win the mile relay when it was snowing on the track.
ooh.
And I pulled my groin muscle and had to stay off my leg for like 6 weeks. It was brutal. So then I ended up getting lured away from school by a long-haired Blackfeet guy. And so as a Crow woman, I think I was stolen by the Blackfeet. And I had 3 children and didn't go to college while I had was raising my children. But I did return when the youngest was like 2
Oh,
and was able to spend another 3, 4 years to finish my degree. And I kind of made college my business and I did well as a student. So I decided to go on to get my master's. So that was really interesting as a single mom. By then, my kids were in middle school and they did not want to leave Missoula.
oh,
So I couldn't find resources that would have helped me because I was a single mom by then to attend Purdue. Purdue
oh,
had offered me a full ride scholarship and I asked questions. I tried to do research. I mean, my children and I are all powwow dancers. Um, my boys have braids. Um, where are we going to live? What school are they going to go in? And the history department at Purdue just had no idea that to bring me in meant all those issues had to come with me.
right.
So I ended up turning down that scholarship and staying at the University of Montana, borrowing a mountain of money to pay for it,
Oh, geez.
just so my kids would be in an environment that they wanted to be in.
No, I mean, you're definitely prioritizing your family, which is
Yeah.
it's good. You're looking out for, yeah, no, I totally get, because what problems get created in Indiana
Hmm.
with kids? I mean, you see sometimes on the news, like the Midwest and those issues. No, I totally.
Yeah.
What was their degree in? What
History,
history?
history
So
of the American West. Uh-huh.
that would have been a doctorate, correct? At that.
Um, yeah, I would have gone on for a doctorate.
Oh, wow.
Mhm. But I didn't because of family issues. My eldest child um got mixed up in drugs and alcohol and ran away from home.
Oh,
So I had to put my studies on hold and deal with that. And it was like my family just was tired of me being a student. And I think my household was tired of me being a student because things started happening that were like omens. The washing machine broke, the vacuum cleaner broke, my car was just falling apart. And it's like, I think I need to make money. I need to kind of
so-
get back to square one here on what it takes to raise a family. So once I stopped out of school after my master's degree, I was making more money than professors make.
Oh,
So
wow.
I thought, why should I go back to college for the doctorate when I make more money as an administrator?
Wow.
And MSUB allowed me to be an administrator who also teaches. So
Oh,
I got the best of both worlds. So now at AHEC, I'm back to being an administrator, but
yeah.
now I can hire faculty members from any institution I want to have them come in and prepare lessons for tribal college students that are delivered online. So that's really exciting to kind of keep an eye out for and always searching for those Indigenous professors that are really outstanding. So I've met some really great people like Kyle Hill, oh, Dr. Steele, Joel Steele, um, Oliver Bear Don't Walk, Dr. Mel Nadu, just a whole list of them that are in a specialist in Indigenous public health.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's been very helpful to us on how we build our curriculum.
So are they working with the schools? Like, are they professors, or are these people who work in the community doing things that you've been able to partner with?
Now, everything we do at this level is all remote.
Okay.
We don't have a team that travels around from tribal college to tribal college. We use the Praxis AI learning platform right now, and we can do everything through that platform.
Oh, wow.
Upload our classes. You probably were familiar with D2L.
Yes.
Praxis from a teaching perspective is 100% easier. You don't do any of that building. You record a lecture, you send it to a technician, and they put the course together and upload it.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's really nice to have that kind of support. So we partner with big institutions. We've partnered with the University of Nebraska Medical Center, and we're partnered now with the University of North Dakota. And
Oh,
we do projects with the University of Minnesota as well in the delivery of coursework to teach students and their faculty how to do research in Indian country.
oh, wow. That's
Mhm.
really good.
Yeah.
Really
Reno,
good.
I was going to ask you, Zach sent me some of your resume and stuff to look
Mhm.
over, and I noticed you were an advisor counselor in, I want to say 92 at University of Montana,
Mhm.
in EOP. And I
Mhm.
actually, prior to working for G&G, was American Indian student advisor at North Idaho College in Coeur
Oh,
d'Alene, which is a community, more of a community college level.
uh-huh.
And just really short, it was very challenging there to help Native students in an institution that was not really for diversity
Mhm.
and supporting Native students, let alone any other minority group. But
Mhm.
I'm curious, from that time to now, what's the biggest change with support for Native students? I guess in a positive way,
Mm.
from that time period to now.
Well, in some ways, I don't think it's changed that much. And
Mhm.
I say that because during COVID, one of my aunts passed away, and her family asked me to write the obituary. That's kind of my role in my extended family. Um, so I started pulling articles that she had been interviewed for in the Billings Gazette or um, materials that she published herself. And I started reading through that to get information for the obituary, and it struck me that in the early 70s, she was still fighting the situations that I was going through at MSUB in like 2017.
Wow.
So that made me think that maybe the window dressing is a little bit better. We had a nice building on campus at MSUB that had the big title on the face of the building and stuff, but essentially the same struggles were there. And now that I'm more acquainted with the mission of tribal colleges, I would really strongly advocate that for a student. And even if you are urban and don't live by your own tribal college, you can go to another tribal college, and a number of them have dorms and married student housing. So you can get that more personal attention in smaller classrooms, a smaller number of students, and definitely a better price for what it costs for your education.
Well, and non-natives can go, right, to tribal colleges too. Most of
They
them, yeah.
can. Mm-hmm.
No,
Yep.
that's really interesting that it and I kind of see that. I mean, with Native students, you know, the struggles with basic needs, even sometimes,
Mm-hmm.
and financial resources or childcare, and
Mm-hmm.
childcare is a big one that,
Yeah.
you know, so
And it gets worse because workers want to be paid more for their services. So now I think a couple with the baby needing care, it could easily be $900 a month, and that might really compete with your rent or your mortgage.
mhm.
So it worries me, you know, how are they making it?
Oh, and I think there's a lot of people in that boat too. That
Mm-hmm.
yeah, not only that, they got the car payment on top of that, and they got this payment, and
Mm-hmm.
10 credit cards, 12 credit cards. You're like, what the heck? I
I
thought
know.
one was enough, like
Yeah.
no, it's crazy, but it's a struggle out there for kids. I
Mhm.
know the Longhouse and Oregon State, it was more of like a meeting room and then like a work area for students. What I really liked at MSUB with the house was that you incorporate, because that was I believe that was you, right? That incorporated like having no, there's a bedroom with a crib in it if there's a kid that
Mhm.
needs to stay. Because of how many students do have kids that need it. I remember at the Longhouse, there was girls that we worked with that had kids that were always
Mhm.
complaining about stuff, but there's a need, and
Mhm.
it even goes beyond our community, that need for some students, and it kind
Mhm.
of sucks that those resources aren't there.
MSUB kind of caught up with what some other institutions in Montana had already provided, and that is access to a sweat lodge. So
Oh,
in the yard where the American Indian Achievement Center is, they have built a sweat lodge in the yard, and they share it with community organizations that do like the Rimrock. Um, is it mental health, the Rimrock? I'm not sure of
yeah,
its entire
I know who
title.
you're talking about, that
Yeah,
group. Yeah.
the drug and alcohol treatment people in Billings tap into the resource at MSUB. And that had been my argument all along, is that you want to actively recruit Native students from, different communities across Montana, but we don't replicate the services that enable them to be successful. And for anyone that has lived a traditional lifestyle or entered one that kind of helps them with their addiction issues, they need that sweat lodge going. And oh, they put all kinds of hoops in front of me, but I jumped through all of them and got
I know
got it
that.
got it
That's why you're on my
approved through.
pedestal.
Yeah, is you just got to stay in the fight long enough and do things yourself. Like the university was saying, oh, we're not allowed to have an outdoor fire. And I'm looking around at the houses in the neighborhood that have outdoor barbecue grills and fire pits. So I thought, I'm just gonna ask. I call them up. Oh no, the fire chief of the fire department says, we have a permit for ceremonial fires. So I got that, and I asked him to come visit our site, because then facility services said there's too many trees in the yard. You can't have a fire. So the fire chief came and did his assessment and said, oh, no, it's fine.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, it's comical sometimes, but
Oh, and what the university will spend money on assets on in some ways.
mhm, mhm,
It really is, because it's like, hey, what are we trying to do here? Promote better education for these kids at the end of the day. They forget
right.
but it's
And
good to have people like you who do remember the mission too.
And now we'd like to take the time to pause and bring you music on a native podcast. This week, we feature Superman, Dragonfly Medicine, featuring Ashley Hall. And that was Dragonfly Medicine by Superman, featuring Ashley Hall. Now, back to the podcast.
and for a lot of the Native students that go on to a 4-year program, they're coming in with tribal funding with them. So they still might need Pell Grant, but they also have another source of funding. So I think the universities should be more appreciative of a student choosing their institution. I guess a modern situation I see is that younger students are more of a consumer, and they will check out a college and see if it has what they're looking for and what they need. And they can go anywhere. They don't have to stay in state.
Well, and I think kind of when you talk about what they need and what they have, I mean, I can only speak from my experiences, but having a center like that, I actually showed up to a few things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I lived in Billings, so it was different when I
Mm-hmm.
came back, but like Oregon State, the center even had a like a meditation room almost you can go sit in.
Mm-hmm.
It's like completely quiet, but you had that place. And I don't think these schools do a good job necessarily selling that sometimes for
Yeah.
because I didn't realize the University of Montana don't they have a center now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so does Bozeman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I knew the Bozeman one because when I went and visited him, but that was that little square room.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, did they get a new one?
I think
They
they're getting a new building.
They are. I thought I heard something, I thought so.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I did a year of graduate school at Montana State, Bozeman, and Zach was mentioning you're friends with Gail Small.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We went to high school together and we started out being roommates
Oh
at
Oh
wow.
wow.
University of Montana. Yeah.
I knew you knew her. I was like, yeah,
Mhm.
no, Matt
Yeah,
took some classes.
yeah, I always appreciated her, just she's such a strong person and tough person and fight for the fights she's been doing with environmental stuff
Mhm.
and other things. But
Didn't
yeah,
you
no,
go with Gail? Gail led the group to Standing Rock, right? That you went on?
I think she went with her husband and son separately, but they were there, I want to say the same time I went to Standing Rock with a group of students
Because I
from
know that's the one thing I think I regret in college. Now looking back, is when Reno organized the group to go to Standing Rock.
Mhm.
That would have been. Now looking back, I'm like, oh man. At the time, I was like, it's not that big. It's whatever.
Yeah,
North
and it's
Dakota in the winter, I'm good.
Well, and I really, with Standing Rock, it really was great to see all these different groups uniting for, especially, I'm Lakota and you're Crow, so
mhm.
the history there, and we joke about it, but it is really good to put those differences aside, and this is
Mhm.
affecting everybody.
Mhm. It's like Indigenous people are recognizing the strength of unity and coming together on different things so we're more successful. And I think that is also a characteristic that I notice in younger people. I'm a baby boomer, but younger people tend to be more accepting of tribal diversity and more willing to strike up partnerships and work together to get things done. And I think they have a value for higher education and how important that is to our our future as tribal people, for the economy, for our education, preservation of our cultural ways and languages, that they see their education as a critical tool. So in projecting long term into the future, I think there will be a day when the credentials to serve on a tribal council are going to be much greater than they are right now. That it may require a degree in business, um, or some other, if you're a tribe who has a dam, then, maybe you have a graduate degree in some kind of water thing. Um, just depending on what your resources are, that a tribe would make that a criteria.
I know the Little Shell. Gerald was trying to do that,
Mm-hmm.
but part of the argument and why they to be on council, you have to have your GED or better.
Mm-hmm.
To be I think vice chair and chair, and don't quote me, anybody who's listening.
Okay.
I think I'm going off the cuff with this one, but I want to say it's a 2-year degree from at least a tribal college,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the like lowest what a tribal college can offer.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So you're at least getting that. I want to say that is certain for the chairman position.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to make it a 4-year degree,
Mm-hmm.
but I think there was some issue with that. I agree with you. I think that there is. I mean, you talk about even like the Muckleshoot tribe in Seattle. You're talking millions and millions of dollars
Mhm.
that they're dealing with.
And how can you do that and negotiate with other professionals in large organizations with an eighth grade education? They will smoke you out of the room.
Oh,
So
exactly.
yeah, I really have faith in the younger people that are coming up, that when it's their turn to be leaders, that they're going to change things.
Well, that's really good to hear. You kind of talked about the two worlds and living in that.
Mhm.
I want to ask you because you are Crow and you grew up on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation.
Mhm.
What was that like?
Yeah, that was an issue. Um, Plus, my siblings and I were not taught to speak our tribal languages.
Oh,
Um, my father and paternal grandmother are Michif from the Turtle Mountain Reservation, and they were both fluent in English, French, and Michif.
oh
So
wow.
I heard those languages a lot. And then my grandfather was Northern Cheyenne, and he spoke the old Cheyenne, not the slang Cheyenne. And then my mom is Crow, and all of her family speak Crow.
Oh wow.
So the language issue was very interesting, and in some ways separated my siblings and I from our Crow relatives, young, the younger ones that we were closer in age with, because we only spoke in English. What we did have, though, was strong Cheyenne accents in the way that we spoke English. And I managed to lose that over the years. But and we look different. I have a brother that has blue eyes, and I have my youngest brother had red hair growing up. Our French ancestors from Quebec had red hair, and it
Oh,
still comes now in all these generations later. Um, so there was another family, the Claymores, that came to Montana from North Dakota. And we kind of banded together. There was one girl and 5 boys in her family at that time. And then in my family, there were 2 girls and 4 boys most of the time. So we were our own little gangsters. We had to stand up to the Cheyenne kids that wanted to make an issue of our mixedness,
right.
and we had to stand up um, to Crows that wanted to put us down because we couldn't speak Crow. And
Wow.
like that was the first requirement to be Crow, is that you must learn the language, and we weren't there doing that. So um, I learned how to be street smart, and to not back down to any fight. Yeah.
That's funny.
Mm.
Well, that's good. I mean, that's crazy the differences. And now how many Crow and Northern Cheyenne families are there?
There's lots of them. When I worked at MSUB, there would be, particularly with the female students, that I just assumed they were Crow,
Oh,
and find out, well, no, I'm not actually enrolled as Crow. I'm enrolled as Northern Cheyenne. And yeah, that was always interesting.
that's
So, well,
funny.
you act Crow. And I suppose that people would have said that about me,
That's funny.
that what you're not Crow because you act like a Cheyenne. But
That's
I think that early time really inspired me to pursue history in the long run, to see that as my passion, because my family was friends with John Stanzentimber, who wrote a book about life as a Cheyenne. And John Woodenlegs, he was a tribal councilman and Native American church person. A lot of these old timers were friends of my grandparents or my parents. And in those days, people would just drop by whenever they were around. And my job was to keep the coffee pot going.
Oh,
And they would sit at the kitchen table or the dining room table and smoke cigarettes. You could just see the cloud just hanging over the table. And they would tell stories, and they would tell old Cheyenne stories, or they'd be telling old stories of the Crow people. And I just loved listening to all of that. And it never
Right.
occurred to me until after I had been at the University of Montana for a while that, hey, I can earn a living doing that, because I wasn't going to be able to earn a living and live in Indian country with a bachelor's degree in jazz dance. That's crazy, because I only wanted to be on the track team. I didn't think I would actually get a degree. I just wanted to keep running and winning races. So I signed up as a jazz major so that all I did every day was work out and not have to read or write.
that's
So
now
once I
you're
got
right
some
on the-
sense in my head, I ended up um, kind of on the history track. And I always think back on those stories that I heard from those old timers.
That's cool. Is there any stories you want to share? If you
I
remember.
can't think of any at the moment.
Oh, that's fine.
Remember, I mean, nowadays we'd all be freaked out if you come into your home and saw that much smoke hanging
Right.
there. Yeah.
Oh, my dad's mom, her mom, so my great grandmother, grew up in North Dakota, and that was the thing. She had her chair by the telephone, always that
Mm.
corded telephone, and looking out the window, could see everyone because she grew up in Belfield, North Dakota, small town.
Uh-huh.
Just that's the life, I guess, the living.
Mhm.
And I don't know if she smoked or if my great grandpa smoked, but I'm sure. I mean, that was the time that was happening. Now
Mhm.
everyone's smoking vapes. It's a different kind of cloud in the room.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're doing with G&G, we're doing the Next Legends campaign, which is anti-vaping
Oh, good.
campaign for targeting Native youth, and
Mhm.
hearing that you do work with data and health initiatives, that's
Mhm.
really important, with especially with opioids and mental health
Mhm.
of our youth right now.
Yeah.
So
Maybe we can do a project in the future.
Yeah.
We do monthly webinars, and they can be on any kind of topic. So we haven't done one yet on tobacco use, or to separate it from sacred use of tobacco.
Here's
So
here's
with
Matt.
vaping mixed in there, it would be a good conversation, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm sure, right? We worked with Kashawn Whitehorse, who's a rodeo guy, and then Naja Knight. She did a commercial for us.
Mhm.
A bull rider. She's from Pendleton, 19 years old, youngest female bull rider, and she's native.
Oh, cool. Very
yeah,
cool.
yeah, we did some filming with her and her family's ranch out here in Oregon, and she's a Klamath tribal member enrolled, but she's trying to become the first female professional bull rider.
Mm-hmm.
And she's native, and she's like a 4.0 student and doesn't vape and doesn't do
Mm-hmm.
drugs or anything. It's a good role model.
Yeah. Whenever on Facebook there's a picture of an Indian girl who has won something, there was a boxer, and she had the big belt with the gold on the big belt, that she was won the highest level of her weight class. And I have 3 grandsons that are in college and not married yet. So I will send them pictures like this and say, this is what grandma wants. You
is what-
find a woman of this caliber. This is what I want you to bring home. And then I don't think they appreciate it, but that doesn't matter. I'm going to torture them
I
anyway.
can't believe they're in college already. I remember
Yeah.
you were toting them around like I have to go run a practice and do.
Yeah. Yep.
Wow, that's time flies.
I could be a great grandmother. I mean,
Any
yeah.
day.
Yeah. The oldest is 22.
Yeah,
So
I mean that's like normal. Like it's an
yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
No, that's crazy. That's crazy. Well, we are kind of coming towards the end. I don't know, Matt, do you have any last questions or
No, Reno, it was great chatting with you and getting to meet you. And I know I come out to Montana enough to do things with Zach, or
Mm-hmm.
I went out there in November and had a deer hunting experience
Mm.
out there. It's a little different hunting in wide open country.
he's
It's kind of
blind.
like hunting in the forest in Oregon.
He's
Yeah.
blind.
A little
He's
different.
blind.
Uh-huh.
But no, I come out there a lot, and
Well,
so
when you're in town, you should get in touch with me. You have all my contact information. We can go out for a coffee or something and a bite to eat. That'd be cool.
For sure.
yeah.
I gotta do that next time I'm in Billings. Last time I was there, I was moving a building. Oh man, I am still sore. It's in Oregon though. It's off my hands. It's my parents.
So are the boarded up windows still in place?
Some of them are.
Mm.
We kept the like finished ones that she finished.
Mm-hmm.
My dad has those, and
Mm-hmm.
they were beautiful. I really appreciate that. Elena Buffalo Spirit is a
Mm-hmm.
amazing artist.
That was so difficult to get off the ground, to get artists, because their first question is who buys the paint. And so I thought, is the paint they use really that expensive? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what, because if it's buying by the gallon, I don't, and what kind of paint, like
Yeah.
house paint, sure, whatever, just use it.
Mm-hmm.
But no,
Mm-hmm.
it had to be specific, because I even threw out like the extra paint we had just laying around the building, and they didn't touch it. They had their own paint. They're like, nope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Good. It was good seeing them, and I really appreciate that was very helpful. I know the city of Billings was not. They were not fun to work with. And then speaking of fire chief, we have an email where we said, "Hey, we think the pipes are going to burst this winter based on how the building's holding up."
Mm-hmm.
And he drained the water, and the fire chief himself was like, "Nope, you can't. Not good." And it's like, "Well, we think the pipes are going to burst. Just to let you know what happens on New Year's Day."
Oh
Pipes
no.
burst. So I mean, it worked out where like
Mm-hmm.
we're like fine because I moved everything up to the first floor. So when it flooded,
Mm-hmm.
it flooded the whole basement, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
That was the Masons can have it back. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you'll have to come see the new G&G in Oregon, wherever that may be, because it'll be a similar type of space and how it's used. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
if it'll be a building necessarily. It might be like a farm, like a farmhouse that we work out
Mm.
of, with like land and stuff. And it's like, oh, there's an amphitheater for
Yeah,
Mhm.
that
stuff
would
like
be very cool.
so. And then the little shell powwow in August.
Mm-hmm.
The new arbor up there is beautiful.
That's what I've heard. I've only seen the one at Crow. I danced at Crow, but I haven't been out much at all to dance or travel because I was caring for my mother and she has dementia.
Oh no,
And there's just a lot of things you can't run around as easily when you're dragging an elder around. And
right.
she
Yeah.
didn't like to go out of the house if it was cold or too hot or it was windy or there might be wind. So
Well, Great Falls is
there you
windy.
have it. I guess we're staying home.
Well, that's good that you're there for your mom. That's
Yeah.
neat. I mean, it's people don't think about our elders the way we should. And it's good that you're doing that. Kind of towards the end here, we have our final words. Since you're our guest, I'll let you go ahead. And if you have any final words, any guide wisdom to anybody, any advice, anything like that, and then Matt and I will go and close it up.
Okay. Well, one thing that I always like to share for the sake of students who are in higher ed is the tribal college credits are the best bargain for your money and for the investment in courses that may be in your challenge zone, because you get a little more attention. And with the credits not costing as much, you don't have to take out huge loans to get your first and up to second year done at a tribal college. And then when you are at a four-year institution and trying to figure out how to pay for everything, sit down and do a really exhaustive budget so that you know tangibly, not just some abstract thought, what your expenses are going to be, because they're going to offer you a lot of money. And if you accept all the money they offer you, then you put yourself in a situation after graduation that you have to make a certain wage in order to pay back all that money. So you can open up more opportunities for yourself to be actively engaged with a Native organization, a nonprofit, or a tribal government, or a tribal college by really paying attention to keeping a very low amount of loans. So if you don't know how to do that, look for a TRIO program on your campus, and their advisor counselors can help students figure that out.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's really good. That's really helpful. Matt?
Yeah, no, Reno, thank you for that. As someone who has student loans, a significant amount, I probably should have, looked into that a little more than what I did. But life goes on, and you learn from it,
Mhm.
and you can't always rely on the government always to say they're going to cancel something.
Mhm. That's right.
But yeah, no, definitely financial. I recommend the same thing because that's what I've been working through in my life the last few years, and I'm slowly figuring it out now. So
Mhm. Well, thank you guys for inviting me to visit with you this afternoon. It's been great.
Yeah, no, thank you, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thank you again, Reno. We appreciate it. As always, until next time, bye-bye.
Bye.
I know ballers, I know chiefs, I know riders from the east. I know educated natives down to picket in the streets. Middle fingers to police. Fuck you, we come in peace. I know red-skinned hippies that be giving me the creeps. I know beauty, I know beast, I know savages and freaks. And I know a couple cousins even bougier than me. No, ain't elite, bougie native, yes indeed. Art exhibit to the club, and we roll it 20 deep. Copper on my neck, gold on my ring, feather on my hat, skin stitched chin. 100 warriors on my back, they be drumming when I sing. Man, there ain't no way around it.
A Native Podcast is produced by G&G Advertising and Quartz Lake Productions.